now we have Brad Crowder of Fight for 15 and also describing his experiences in federal prison. Please, let's give him a warm welcome. Oh, thank you, wind. The winds of change are blowing through the plaza today to bring us to an end of slavery. Thank you to the winds of change, and thank you to the people who picked up after the winds of change. Once again, Brad Crowder.
Can y'all hear me? All right, cool. So, hey, how's everybody doing today? Doing good? All right, thanks. We've had some really powerful stories up here, so I don't want to dwell too much on my own story, but just so everybody knows, in 2008, I was arrested at the Republican National Convention by the FBI and the Joint Terrorism Task Force. After 2 years, I got out as a convicted felon. It was very difficult to find work, so I found myself in fast food. I don't know if anybody here has worked in fast food, but it sucks a lot. And so me and my coworkers got together one day and we decided we wanted to organize. We ended up drafting a petition, circulating the petition, delivering it to management, and we won 5 out of our 6 demands. We were so excited. Yeah. We were so excited. Myself, my coworkers, and some other community volunteers decided to start going shop to shop, talking to workers. The National Fight for 15 took recognition of our work, ended up hiring me full-time as a staffer, and I've been working with Fight for 15 ever since. When the movement started, everybody thought we were crazy, but since then we've seen Seattle get a $15 an hour minimum wage, Minneapolis passed a $15 an hour minimum wage. Over 22 million workers have seen raises because of this movement. But we don't only fight for wage gains. In Tampa Bay, Florida, the Fight for 15 was instrumental in getting Confederate monuments taken down after a long, hard fight. Just like the 15, everybody thought, oh, it's crazy, you're never going to happen, we're in the South, they're not going to take it down. They rallied people, they went out there, they organized, and they got them taken down. So Fight for 15 stands not just for an increased wage. It doesn't matter how much you're getting paid if you're worried about getting shot in the streets because of the color of your skin, or deported and having your family torn apart. So we stand, for economic and social justice together. I do want to talk about the 13th Amendment. I think it's important to talk about specifically the movement to amend the 13th. And for me, understanding the historical context of where that came from has taught me a lot about what I think some lessons we need to take. So I think the most important thing to learn about the 13th Amendment is that it was a product of a revolution. And I think when people think about revolution, they think about like Russia or China or Cuba or wherever, and they forget that we had a revolution right here, literally right here in Austin and in Texas. When the Civil War, or before the Civil War started, 10 years before, nobody thought slavery was ever going to end. And if they did, they thought it was going to be slow, protracted, and with lots of compensation for the former slave owners. Fast forward 10 years, because of the general strike of the slaves, they turned the Civil War into a revolutionary war. They refused to be slaves, they took up arms, and they shot the slave owners to death, which was an important lesson for us to learn. As we see in Charlottesville and in San Antonio, as these forces start to rear their heads again. And I think it's important to know not just what happened generally with the Civil War, but what happened here. In 1869, we elected a radical Republican, a revolutionary governor named Edmund J. Davis. Edmund J. Davis took the vote away from the former Confederates and gave the vote to the freedmen, which was incredibly radical at the time. We forget how powerful that was. The former plantation owners did not take lightly to that. They ended up creating a campaign of terrorist violence, sexual brutality, lynching. There were more people lynched in Waco, Texas in the period between 1869 and 1876 than all the periods of slavery put together. In those few short years, there were more people lynched in Waco, Texas, just north of us. This terrorist violence ended up creating a coup conditions. And the radical constitution that Edmund J. Davis helped usher in 1869 was replaced in 1876 by a Klan constitution. The Klan successfully overthrew the Texas state government, instituted the same exact constitution that we have today. The 1876 Klan Constitution is the same Klan Constitution that we have today. It's still in effect. And one of the important lessons is that continues to shape our world today. So after emancipation, all the sugar land, all the plantations along the coast where they grew sugar were laying fallow. If anybody is familiar with imperial sugar, every time you go and check your, get a coffee or anything like that, if you look on those packets, it says since 1843. So it was started as a slave plantation. By the time that emancipation happened, they couldn't get anybody to work the fields. Not surprising. And so what they did, Edmund Cunningham, who was the owner of Imperial Sugar, went to the state government and said, hey, listen, let's make a deal. He ended up working at a deal for convict leasing that saw him get access to 1,500 convict workers at $3.01 a head per month. That company is now the largest processor of sugar in the country today. They have sugar plantation or sugar fields and processing equipment in Texas, Georgia, and Louisiana. It's still here today, and their wealth that the share owners are making comes directly from slavery and directly from convict leasing, which was a product of the 13th Amendment and that little loophole that we gave our enemies, right? That we gave them that little loophole. And so I think there's 3 important lessons that I think we need to take from that today if we're going to push for this amendment. The first, I think it's important, is that because the 13th was a product of revolution, it's going to take another revolutionary movement to transform it. So it's going to take a revolution in the United States to finally and fully both abolish slavery as such, but also, and this is important because this is what did not happen in Reconstruction, we have to repair the legacy of slavery through reparations. And that's going to take a revolutionary movement as well. Because we can see what a revolution looks like when we look at Reconstruction. The oppressor has the political power, they have the property, and they have the guns. A revolution is when you take the political power, the property, and the guns from the oppressor, and you give it to the oppressed. When the oppressed have the right to reparations, when they have the right to self-defense, and when they have the right to self-determination, then you can begin to see the ends of the legacies of slavery that continue under the 13th Amendment and with our prison system today. And the last lesson, and this is the most important, I think, because we're seeing in Charlottesville, did people see the torch march in Charlottesville last night? That's terrifying, right? It's horrifying. And they're down in San Antonio right now, rallying as well. And I think this is the most important thing for us to think of when you are part of the oppressed and you're fighting and you get access to the political power and you have the property, you have to do whatever it takes to keep that. Because that's why we saw so many lynchings after Reconstruction when it collapsed. You see wholesale violence because our enemies win, and they will do anything they can to crush us. And so it's going to take resilience and determination and us working together and sticking together through thick and thin to make sure that we can repair the legacies of slavery and violence that still stick with us today. So. In conclusion, I just want to thank everybody again for coming out. I want to encourage everybody to get involved in social movements, get involved with Austin Justice Coalition with their school drive. Fight for 15 is organizing fast food workers here in Austin. We're preparing for a national strike. You can go on our Facebook page and like us at Facebook or at Fight for 15 Texas and come get involved with us. We've helped workers in Austin and San Marcos get their air conditioner fixed. We've helped them fight against wage theft. And we're going to be helping fight for city ordinances in the city today that can help begin improving the lives of working class people today as we build power to transform the system overall and repair the legacies and the violence that so many people have suffered under for so long. So, thank you.
Thanks, Brad. And I really liked what you had to say about strikes making change. Because I'm not saying that these rallies are going to kick off a round of strikes, but I'm not saying that they're not going to kick off a round of strikes either. We know that in Arizona, we're planning on a commissary boycott. So I ask you to please continue supporting all who are resisting behind bars. Whether that's with a postcard, by putting some money on somebody's commissary, by going to visit an inmate, whatever you can do, please do it. Okay, now our next speaker is Roderick Reed of the Reed Justice Initiative. And as you well know, he is the brother of wrongfully incarcerated death row inmate Rodney Reed. So please, a very warm welcome for Mr. Reed. We're so excited to have him here today.